Hello, welcome to this playtest of, and I just realized I don't know how to pronounce this properly in English. Dramatis Personae, I don't know. It's Latin, and I'm not a native English speaker, but that's the name of the game. Uh, this is the first playtest. I don't know how this game is going to go. We'll see. But I'll try to describe what my intent with the game is, and then we'll see if that works. We'll have a discussion once we've played for a while, and we'll see if we got there or not. This game is part of the Open Hearth gaming community, and you can look that up online if you want to find out more. My name is Anders. I use the he/him pronouns, and I'm here with three brave volunteers. I'll ask you to introduce yourselves. Let's go alphabetical order. So, Alex, you're up first.
Sure. Hi, my name is Alex. I use he, him pronouns. And, did we lose Anders?
I just muted myself, and then the camera goes crazy.
I see.
I'm still here. I'll try to fix it.
It is a rainy day here in Oregon, and I'm very happy to be participating. I was a last-minute addition because I happen to have some time today. So I do have a theater background myself. I was a professional actor for many years, although I no longer pursue that profession. And I'm interested to see what we can find out about the game.
Cool, thank you. Kat.
Hi, I'm Kat, she, her. I also have a theater background on the tech side of things. That is my current, I would say day job, but it's more of a night job. So I'm here during the day. My love of tabletop games and my love of theater really play into each other, so I'm excited to see what we get out of this concept.
Thank you. And finally, Marley.
Hi, Marley, she, her. I also have a theater background. Mostly I wanted to play this because it looked weird and cool, and I like weird, cool things. But yeah, when I was a child, I did a lot of community theater, and then as an adult, I mostly transitioned into voice acting. So that was my theater of choice. But these days, yeah, mostly I get my acting itches scratched through various story games.
Cool. Yeah, you all have much more theater experience than I do. I did theater in, I think, 1 year in like 7th or 8th grade. And for about a year when at university, there was a small group of us who did had a little theater troupe. We did one performance, and that was fine. It was fun time, but yeah, I come to theater, I think, more from the story side. I'm interested in differences between various media and how they work and that sort of thing. How do they tell a story? So that's more my entry point into this. Plus, theater is just cool. It's people performing something live in front of an audience. That's always interesting. So for this game, we're using some safety tools. We're using lines and veils, which we have filled out here in advance. Our lines are against sexual assault, violence, and coercion, as well as harm to pet animals. We have veils on torture, sexual content, pandemics, suicide, and graphic gore. And we have an ask first on cannibalism. I just caught a spelling error here on coercion, so I'll fix that now. We're also using the X card, so if something shows up that you suddenly realize, ooh, this is not something I want in the game, you can just say so. You can just say, I'd like to X card that. You can throw up an X with your arms. You can type it in the chat, but maybe I won't see it in the chat because I'm not always focused on that. I don't think this will be a huge issue here, since we're mostly talking about stuff rather than acting things out. But it could happen, and we want to be prepared for that. You can, of course, amend the lines and veils as we play as well if you realize that there's something you want to add to that. We also use the open door policy. So if you need to leave for some reason, you can do so. You're under no obligation to be here. If you can let the rest of us know when and if you'll be back, that's good. But if you can't, then you can't. That's fine. We will soldier on without you. And if I leave and I'm not back in 5-10 minutes, then something happened and I'm probably not coming back. So then you should feel free to leave as well. We also use the Open Hearth Code of Conduct. That's nothing complicated, and I don't think that will be an issue here either. I think that's it. Generally, this is, I think, going to be pretty chill. Maybe we get into something intense, but we'll be at a distance, since we're generally, at least for the vast majority of the game, not inhabiting characters. So, but if still, same rules still apply. Yeah. Any questions about that? Seems not. And if anything happens, then just let me know and we'll take care of it. So now I'll try to explain what this game is supposed to be. So this is the way. Well, I should describe what the basic idea is, that we're creating a tradition of theater, a type of theater, of acting, of stage performances. I'm intending this to be very broad. I would include things like ballet, musicals, that sort of thing. Improv could probably fit here as well, though it might not be as interesting in this context. But anything where you have people live on stage performing for an audience. That's not purely a musical performance. There has to be a story element to it. And what we will do in the game is that we'll first define the culture where this tradition of performance of theater originated. This will be fairly sketchy, not very detailed. We'll note some ideals or things that this culture values, things they don't value, that sort of thing. I'll talk a little bit more about this later, how we can think about these things. And that's just to inform how does this tradition of theater relate to the culture where it originated. Are they embracing certain values while rejecting others? Is this a rebellious form of theater where you're focusing on values that are new and emerging and rejecting old values? Or is it something traditional? That sort of thing. And we'll define some various things about this tradition of theater, including stock characters and how it's performed, what the writing is like, that sort of thing. We won't go into detail on all of these things. We'll pick and choose the ones we think are interesting and leave some completely aside, and others may be implied by whatever we come up with. After we've done that, we will sketch out a play using these things. This will not be writing an entire play. It will just picking out, we have these characters, or these characters are important. Here are some things that happen in the play. That sort of thing. And yeah, so that's the core gameplay. And I think where we will spend the most time is on defining the tradition. What's the writing like? What kind of dialogue is it? Is it naturalistic dialogue, or is it verse? Whatever, that sort of thing. What are the performances like? Is there music? Is there audience participation? That sort of thing. I don't know how much time all of that will take. If there is time after we've done that, we will either, if we just have a little bit of time, maybe we try acting out a scene or two, or just like snippets of the play, just to get a feel for it. If we have a lot of time, we will advance the culture in time and say that, oh, now these values have changed. These are still relevant, but these have changed. And then see how does that affect the tradition of theater. Would they still perform plays in the old way, or would some things change? That sort of thing. And see for this specific play, how does things change for that. So that's another thing. The core thing is defining a tradition of theater, and the secondary thing is to see how this changes over time. The tertiary goal is to actually act out some of the things we come up with. Does all of that make sense, or is something unclear? No questions?
I would say quite a bit is unclear.
Yeah, absolutely.
or I have many questions concerning the parameters of the game and the parameters of what we're talking about. Any of the terms you have mentioned. So yes.
Yeah, we'll go through things in a little bit more detail. This is the big overview. I intend for this to be probably a one-shot game. Of course, we may not have time to go for the full what a full session would be like here, because I'd like to reserve some time at the end for discussion and feedback. And of course, I'll be explaining things in a bit more detail, and all this whole preamble wouldn't necessarily be part of a one shot if people know the game beforehand. I'll start going through things in a bit more detail. We'll be taking turns, and we'll start with defining the culture. And I've written in the sheet, there's a tab called Origins. That's not necessarily a good name for it, but that's what it's called right now. And here on the red leftmost column here, we have the culture of origin. This is all, like I said, this is early playtest. I'm not sure how everything's going to work, but we'll take turns. And while we're defining the culture, I think we'll go about 2 rounds with that. Each person, when it's your turn, you define an ideal for this culture. An ideal here is very broadly defined. This could be a facet of society. It could be a personality trait. It could be some actual ideal. It could be a political ideal. But these are things that this culture is interested in some way. And this could be a positive ideal or a negative ideal. So it's either something that they're striving towards, or they value, or they admire, or it's something that they try to avoid and look down on, and try not to engage with in some way. I've posed some questions here at the top. What are the current ideals? Who champions them? What old ideals are fading? Who clings to them? What ideals are new and rebellious? Who embraces them? And these are just more to get ideas than specific questions to answer. And we're doing Goblin theater today. I just thought that would be an interesting, like, get something that's definitely separated from mundane Earth. So here, let's say that goblins, for example, are they like food. They're gluttons, and they think that this is a good thing. If you have food, you should eat it. They don't hoard food. They don't save up food. They eat their food if they have it. And that could mean that gluttony is a positive ideal. And maybe this is just a current thing. It's not controversial in any sense. But then maybe there are some modern goblins who think that who has a contrasting idea that's maybe not focused on food, but maybe they're more into some sort of moderation. Like moderation is a more modern ideal that's showing up, that no, you shouldn't do too much of things, and that would be something that's embraced maybe by a certain class of people, or maybe it's just younger goblins think that moderation is cool. I can't see that happening, but things are weird. So that's how that goes. Then when we get into defining the traditional theater, we will still take turns in the same way. We'll define one thing each on our turns. I don't know how long we'll go. We'll see about that. So I'll go through those columns in a little bit more detail. And these are kind of roughly split between the writing, the characters, and the performance. And the writing is when you write a play or whatever the thing is that you perform. How is in this particular tradition, in this particular culture, what do you do? What do you put into the play? And this is like what is the dialogue like? Is this prose dialogue? Are there songs in there? Is there no dialogue? Is it mime or is it ballet? That sort of thing. Where they take their inspiration from. If we go to Shakespeare, there's a lot of historical events that inspire, historical characters, figures that are used as inspiration. Whereas in more modern theater, it's more often ordinary people. It's not by no means exclusively that, but that's more common now than back then, as I understand it. My understanding of theater is limited, so I'll probably say some things here that are entirely wrong, and feel free to correct me. But this is how the game works, at least. What's the style of writing? Are they trying to be naturalistic, or is this is it didactic? Is this a teaching tool? That sort of thing. And then we have common themes, and all of these have notes that you can see if you hover over the words. Common themes, and these are related to the ideals. Like two ideals in conflict is a common type of theme, or expressing why a certain ideal is good, why the opposite of that ideal is bad, how to achieve a certain ideal, that sort of thing. How do you achieve happiness is something that a story could be about. Or conflict between romantic love and duty to family. Those are possible ideals that you could have, and a story can be about a conflict between those. Common scenes and plot beats are things that will often show up in plays of this particular tradition. Ancient Greek theater, you would have the Deus Ex Machina, where a god shows up at the end and sets everything right. Would be a type of plot beat that would happen often there. You could have a wedding at the end where all the people who have fallen in love with each other get married, or the villain dies, or there's that sort of thing. The "I Want" song in musical theater is a common thing, a trope that shows up in those types of play, using the term broadly. So that's one thing where we can define things. Then we have the characters, and the characters are character types, not individual characters, unless you're going to Commedia dell'arte, where you have like Harlequin and that sort of thing, where they're more named, but the name is still here. The intent is that this is a common type of character who shows up. This is and this can be traditionally defined. You have from what I understand, in Roman theater, you have the boastful soldier is one of these, and has a specific name that I don't remember. I've heard it. For modern stories, you can have like the bumbling father is a not uncommon character type in sitcoms and that sort of thing. And here we both get to name what this character type is called and define it in terms of characteristics or relationship to the ideals of the culture. Because the idea here is that the stock characters express things about the culture, or are expressions of the culture. Not all of their characteristics need to relate to the culture. Like you could have, if you have the young lovers, then they will be young, and maybe youth isn't something that's particularly related to the culture, but that they are young is still a relevant characteristic for those characters. And there I probably confused things by taking something that was actually two characters and not one, but I think you get the idea. If we have the tyrant, the authority figure who abuses their power, then that may be related in some ways to, if the culture has an ideal of personal freedom, then this is probably a negative. Like he's opposed to that, making him a negative figure. But if the culture has an ideal that, people should use their power. If they have power, then it's their right to exercise it. Maybe this is a positive character. But they could also have other characteristics that are not related to the ideals of the culture. And finally, the performance. This is like the acting style. Is it naturalistic? Is it dance? Or are we like doing? Is that part of it? That sort of thing. Is there some sort of narration? Is there a Greek chorus who that kind of comments on what's happening? Is there audience participation? Are you expected? Is the audience expected to heckle the actors, even if they're not like interacting with the events of the play? They may be interacting with the performance. What are the sets like? Props and costumes? Is there music? And if so, how does that play into the performance? Are there any special effects? Do they use like pyrotechnics or sound effects, or is it just is it only the actors on the stage and whatever things they have there? And if there's, for most of these, there's an other category. I just realized that I should move these. Where if you realize that, oh, this thing is missing, we need to put in another thing here, then you should feel free to do so. Does that make sense on some level, at least?
I'm following.
Yeah, I think I get it in general, and I will understand it better when we start doing it.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Which is, did you want to start with any particular definition of goblin? Because there are many throughout culture.
No, I think we'll just imagine goblins, and then we'll figure out, as we define their culture, that will define what these goblins are. I'm just thinking kind of like fantasy goblins, not necessarily in like high fantasy world, but I just thought goblins are interesting, and they are kind of malleable, which maybe is an advantage here, or maybe a disadvantage, because you need to decide what kind of goblins they are. Is that okay?
Right, but I'm saying, so you're talking about a naturalistic species.
Yes.
Not the fairy type of goblin, like Puck in Midsummer Night's Dream is referred to as a goblin, I think,
Yeah.
but that kind of an idea of what a goblin is.
No, more the species. Thank you for asking that, so I could clarify, so we're all on the same page.
Also, then my second question is that, are we talking about a goblin society that is dominated by goblins, or goblins being part of being a minority in a larger society that is not oriented towards them?
I would say that this is a goblin-dominated goblin society. And I think it would be interesting to like, if we get to the step, or in some hypothetical future version, when you get to the step where you're changing the culture, you could see, oh, now the goblins have been conquered by the humans. How does that affect their culture, and how does that affect the theater tradition? Does that make sense? Cool. Yeah. If there are no further questions, I think we can start playing.
I'm sorry. I once again have another question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Which is, we play games for a reason, right? The reason we play role-playing games is because we enjoy inhabiting somebody other than ourselves and acting out that situation in a fantastical setting, or in a setting that's slightly different from our own personal life, right?
I would say that that's one reason to play role-playing games. I wouldn't say it's the only reason.
No, of course not. My question is, what for you is the inciting idea about this game that makes you want to play it? Because that to me, if we're all headed in that direction, then, or if we're headed in a direction, it's easier to, because at the moment things are very broad and general.
Yeah.
And I think the more specific we can get, the easier it will be for us to help you.
Cool. Thank you. That is a very good question. I'll talk a bit about it, and we'll see if that leads us somewhere. The originating idea was, and that's where the name comes from, the Dramatis Personae, like the list of characters in for a play, and from that to like stock characters. So the first idea was the idea of defining stock characters, like what are typical characters that show up. But for that to make sense, you need to have the entire, like the what context are they showing up in. You have very different stock characters in 1980s action movies than in Shakespeare plays. There's probably some overlap there. I mean, you can find character types that show up in over a long period of time, and that brought forth the idea of, yeah, but then the type of performance and all of that relate to the culture, and that's where the game, what the game or the idea for the game grew out of. But I'm not focused now as much on the stock characters. They are still an important part of it, but that's not the goal. The goal is to do this as, I guess, a creative exercise to define a culture and a cultural expression. And I'm not sure if this is a useful answer to your question, but my like I said, I think I said this before we started recording. I come to theater from an interest in stories and storytelling, and I mean that in the broadest possible sense. Different types of media, how different media tell stories. And I'll take a concrete example. During the pandemic, I started watching wrestling. And it's a type of performance, it's a type of storytelling, and it's one that I hadn't engaged with before. So it's a type of storytelling that I came to as an adult, which doesn't happen a lot. You don't like encounter new forms of storytelling often as an adult. And that got me to thinking about how do we tell stories and that sort of thing. It's a topic I'd been interested in before, but that sort of crystallized it. So that's kind of how I come to this, that I'm interested in defining or describing or inventing different types of storytelling. So that, I would say, is the heart here. Is that a reasonable answer to your question?
Yes.
Cool, thank you. Any further questions? No? Then we'll start playing. And like I said, first we define the culture. I think 2 go rounds will be enough here, but we'll see. We'll do 2 rounds, and after that we'll kind of take stock and see if this feels like a fully fleshed out, or at least enough fleshed out culture that we can sort of move on. Otherwise, we'll continue until we feel like we're done here. I think we'll continue to go. I'll go around the screen in the order we're clockwise here, which is the same order we introduced ourselves. So I'll go first, and then it's Alex, Kat, and Marley. So I'll go first. So, and I haven't thought this through beforehand, so I will babble a bit here. So we're talking about culture, or about goblins in some kind of fantasy setting. It's not a strict like Earth parallel. It's not modern Earth, but with goblins. These are goblins in a fantastical setting of some kind. I don't feel like I need to know more than that right now. And I think one thing that these goblins like is, I think they have strong sense of community. Maybe this is mainly like I imagine that they mostly live in smaller villages. Cooperating is important in order for survival, but it also makes life more fun and bearable. So they have an ideal of community, and this is like a current broadly accepted ideal. I'll put everyone almost as the people who hold this idea, who value community. Alex, on to you.
So when you say community, what specifically do you mean?
I mean, well, yeah, maybe I should specify that a bit more.
Because community can mean lots of different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, maybe I should specify this. Yeah, let's do that. I think this is actually cooperation, perhaps, is more a better description. I think maybe they dress it up as, oh, we're all coming together and help and that sort of thing. But the core is that you help each other out. If your neighbor, if your neighbor's crops fail, or however the goblins get their food, then everyone pitches in and helps out. That sort of community in that sense. But I'll put it as cooperation instead.
So I have to admit at first that speaking about this subject brings to mind a novel that I read many, many years ago, back when I was in high school. And an idea came out of that for creating a game. The novel is by the Anglo-Irish writer Ian MacDonald, and it's one of his earlier novels. It's called Out on Blue 6. It's a sci-fi novel about a totalitarian society where everything is very tightly controlled, and everyone is held to very kind of lowest common denominator. Anyway, it's a totalitarian society in which young people, for the most part, create basically what today would be considered flash mobs and they create these throughout the city. And the city is kind of the setting of the book because the entire civilization is surrounded by a huge wall. And the flash mob is a way they create these theatrical and dance productions and musical productions to jar people out of their everyday kind of doldrums and show them that there's more to life because than the control that the government tries to put on them. And to me, fighting against government, a controlling government, is very apropos at the moment for Americans, but also to me locks in with a lot of the ideas that I have about goblins, especially goblins as being part of a society that is controlled by somebody other than themselves, and that they're trying to find a way of promoting their culture, of passing on the culture to next generations, all of these things. So my ideas for this are coming directly from this inspiration of mine. Just to say that from the get-go, so you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So an ideal to me would be passing on one's culture to the next generation.
Yeah. Tradition, basically.
Tradition, yeah. Or yeah. That would be
or passing on culture. That also works.
or
Yeah,
the values of their particular society as opposed to a more dominant society. That's what I have in the back of my mind. But if you take out that particular plot aspect, could be just any kind of traditional passing on community ideals to another generation or to people that maybe have not been exposed to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you want to write that down in some way? Yeah, passing on cultural traditions. And is this a generally held, like, are all goblins united in this, or is this, the elders find this more important, or is it like, is this a religious thing? Is this what do you think?
Could be all of those.
Yeah, but you get to decide. So
I would say it would be more interesting to me personally if everyone is involved with it.
Mhm.
That it's not something that the elders are promoting, but that maybe the young people are no longer interested. That everyone is involved with promoting this because the traditions are under threat of some kind. I think one of the main ideas of theater is conflict. You need conflict in theater of some kind. Otherwise, it tends to be not so interesting. And I don't conflict not necessarily in terms of violence, but conflict in terms of competing goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Then we're on to Cat.
I think I'm gonna add an older ideal that is more fading.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm playing around with is the idea of hospitality. With this is coming from a very close knit community that we've already defined in your first steps, but I think in this current day that the Goblin Society is in, they're not traveling so much. You have your small village, and you're probably only going to see your small village for maybe a majority of your time in it. So I think it was once very expressed that you always welcome a new neighbor in, but now there just aren't many new neighbors around. So it's kind of lost its potency. We're still cooperating, but we're not as welcoming, or at least not expecting to have to welcome.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Marley.
So we haven't really defined our goblins physically at all. So I don't know if ideal is quite the right word for it, but I think goblins are all have very poor eyesight. And as such, their society is built much more around sound and speech and scent and taste and feel. So any sort of theater or art traditions that come from this culture are going to be a lot less focused on looking at something and much more focused on the other senses.
Yeah, cool. So would this like if we try to form an ideal from this, is it maybe that they focus on like speaking clearly? Is like expressive speech something they value, or is it maybe it's cleanliness because they focus on smell so much? What do you think?
I think they focus on Either speaking in unison or one at a time. Like interrupting is considered extremely taboo.
Ooh.
Because you need to be able to hear what everyone else is saying. And if everyone talks at the same time, you hear nothing.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah. So that could be like taking turns in discussions or in speech, or or that interrupting is taboo. You can put it that way as well.
Yeah, interrupting is taboo. We can go with it that way. You
Yeah.
said there were anti-ideals, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to write that down?
Oh, sure, if you like me to.
I have a comment suggestion for that. Could I add to that? If sight is poor and goblins are relying on their other senses to communicate, this necessitates that theater itself is something very different from how we perceive it.
Yep.
It is not a stage audience dichotomy. It would have to be audience and participants are all together, or the audience is surrounding the performers, and that everything would have to be very clear in terms of who is speaking, because you would not be able to see necessarily, depending on how bad the sight is. You wouldn't be able to see who is speaking. So you would have to know immediately who is speaking from either how they're speaking or what they're saying.
I think
there could also be a bit of spatial aspects to that too. I don't know if we're defining our theater as we're defining everything else, but you could imagine doing some really interesting things, like if there is some sort of perhaps audience members are interspersed throughout, the performers move amongst the audience in some manner. So you can also tell, like, locationally where they are could have significance.
That's interesting. I think we'll get to that when we start defining the actual theater tradition.
Or it could be like a radio play.
Yeah. Or it could be that they announce who they are when they start speaking. I am blah blah blah, and then they say what the. But yeah, this is a really interesting twist on it.
Yeah, and that could be just like a common conversational convention too, that you always start when you go to speak, you always start by stating your name or something like that.
Or there's a third-party narrator that gives basically the stage directions and says who's speaking.
Cool. Yeah, we're rushing ahead a bit, but I think that's a good sign. We'll do one more round of defining things for the culture. So now I am going to define something that is something new. And I think, let's see, what would be interesting here to contrast with this? Because this could be kind of a stifling society, I feel like. It doesn't have to be, but we're looking backwards a lot, like passing on cultural traditions. Yes, we're cooperating, but there's a lot of focus on, and with the taboo against interrupting, there's also there's a lot of structure here that I feel could be experienced as stifling for some people. So I think there is a countercultural ideal that goes against this a bit. Not necessarily a direct contradiction, but maybe, let's see. I think there is. I think there is like in expression of individuality, and with this culture, it wouldn't, since we have these poor eyesight goblins. It probably wouldn't be in like modes of dress and that sort of thing. Maybe it's in more in like how you speak. But I'll just leave it at expression of individuality, and this is emerging among the younger generation. Yeah. Alex.
Do you want to create this in a world that's roughly medieval, roughly Renaissance, roughly modern?
We haven't defined that, other than if we have like mostly small isolated villages, it's probably not close to modern technology levels, because that kind of that generally doesn't work. You get kind of automatically get bigger cities and that sort of thing. But I don't have a strong opinion on that.
This may be silly, but
Silly is fine.
I think it would be funny if they have a really good sense of smell to make up for their lack of eyesight, so that there's an olfactory element. The olfactory element in theater is very important to them. So things that have very strong smells associated with them, or maybe there's even a replication of strong smells that have strong cultural meaning, or goblins find personally pleasurable. I mean, you could go really grotesque with it. They really love rotting fruit or meat or something like that, or more standard, because we're talking about a different species, so that their ideals of beauty and of what is good and smells good might be very different from ours. Maybe that's not so good. I don't know.
I mean, scent could be part of their communication structure. Like they could themselves have glands that allow them to choose how they smell. And maybe that represents something.
That's more interesting. I was going with fart theater, which is probably less good.
Yeah, that's interesting. So if we go with that,
if it's not smell, then maybe it's touch. Maybe they have a very highly refined sense of touch, so that there is a very strong touch element to their performance, meaning, I don't know, maybe that doesn't work either.
I mean, we could, if we want that to be an element of the culture, try to define an ideal around it, and then we'll go, once we get to defining the type of theater, then we'll decide how we incorporate that, or how they adapt their performances to relate to that ideal.
Can we skip me? I seem to be none of the ideas I'm having are speaking to me specifically.
Cool. We'll come back to you. So, Kat, do you have an idea?
Possibly. I think I'm getting a little further into like performance aspects. So I'm gonna pull back the lens a little bit. I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear my cat. She is screaming.
That's fine.
Yes, hello. I had wanted to kind of piggyback off yours a little bit with expressions of individuality. I was thinking in terms of color, but that might be too specific and not like an ideal.
If you want to talk through the idea, we might be able to help you shape it into an ideal.
It's
Yeah.
true. Maybe it's like I can't decide what makes more sense. Like it would probably be very typical if you have bad eyesight. Maybe a way to mitigate around this is to have really brightly colored things, so maybe it stands out a little clearer. You have maybe there's a color organization system, like, oh, all of our post offices are going to be blue, and that's how you know what building it is. But I could also see it as if the color is particularly bright, it could still hurt the eye. So maybe that would be more of a counterculture, and traditionally we don't pay attention to things like that. I don't know which one is more interesting. And then, of course, I'm thinking this for sets later, so that's what I mean by I'm getting ahead of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of, and this I think this points to a thing I didn't think of, because I've talked about ideals and I was thinking on a certain level, but these are both the thing with the senses and this thing with colors. Those are kind of more specific traditions rather than ideals. So maybe that's something we should let's do this. I'm going to just add a thing here. We'll
Well, the
say,
category is called under the culture of origin, but I think
yeah,
we were also speaking of the species or the people of. So that to me is part of culture, because how we
absolutely,
as humans perceive the world is tied directly to how we experience theater.
absolutely.
So
Um,
if a species, or for lack of a better term, if the goblins as a people perceive the world in ways different from us, their theater would naturally reflect that.
yeah. I'm going to do this. We've defined, now I put in two more kind of things here, one for traditions and one for other factors. I'm just going to put bad eyesight as other factors. That's the thing we have defined about the goblins. And I think this thing with colors could maybe fit as a tradition that maybe, just as an example, specific colors have specific meanings or something like that.
One of the things I was hearing from, I was sort of pulling from Kat's idea was that perhaps clarity is more important than nuance.
Ooh, yeah.
As a
Ooh,
way
that's
of
cool.
doing it. And so, like this visual communication you're talking about, yes, you're expected to use high contrast colors and things like that, so that everyone can perceive them. And then, you could imagine this sort of more avant-garde element that's, starting to get more into no, we shouldn't limit. That's too limiting. We should, we're, sometimes it's important to be murky in both the literal and figurative sense.
I like the idea of this clarity over nuance. I almost wonder if it's becoming an ideal of like we must always approach things to like uh this isn't the right way I want to phrase it, but like almost like the lowest common denominator, like make sure everything is accessible to everyone, but that means a lot of things are going to be like kind of on par with like how children view the world. Like this is a very basic sort of understanding, and maybe later it will be brought forward by a counterculture.
So simplicity, maybe?
Yeah, simplicity. I think so. I'll keep it as clarity because that was the fun word. And I'll define it as being easily understood.
Yeah,
and I'll
cool.
spell understood right this second time.
Also, as a player preference, because I think we might be skirting the edges of this a little bit, I would like to keep away from any sort of theme that implies that suggests accessibility is bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair. So I'll keep it as clarity then. And I'll put that as everyone almost.
Cool. Marley.
Oh, my turn. What we got? Got the younger generation, we've got the older generation. How do we feel about an ideal being hierarchy? I'm imagining like maybe some sort of, you could imagine like a family structure or caste systems or something like that where, you know, you kind of know your place in the world.
Might be tricky to do in play, only because hierarchy and oppression often go together. And I think a lot of people might have trouble with playing out what they perceive as an oppressive system.
I mean, hierarchy has definitely been an ideal in societies that have theater. It's just maybe the plays don't deal with that sort of thing, or they present it as a positive thing. Like you have Roman society and Greek society definitely have hierarchies with men above women and free people above slaves and all of that, different social classes, and this presented as a good thing.
Although there's also a lot of theater that deals with, you know, the breaking of taboos and the inversion of hierarchy. A lot of, I mean, most of Shakespeare's comedies are about, you know, sticking it to the man, where, you know, the upper classes and the rich are made fun of, and the common people are elevated.
Yeah, so, and I mean, this could be the tradition of theater that we define could be that kind of subversive theater. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to celebrate all the ideals of the culture.
And theater also allowing people to, you know, express things that are outside of the hierarchy in an environment where it's considered okay. You know.
Yeah. Marley,
did you want me to write it up?
Yeah, yeah. Just so we know what kind of hierarchy we're talking about. Is this like is it the family? Is it a family hierarchy? Is it hierarchy in general that you should always know? Like who's above you, who's below you? Is there like divinely ordained order to the world that the people who have bigger left toes are more important than people who have?
Well, I was going to do some sort of family oriented one, though I think that was more just because that's a common one in human systems. So
Yeah,
it's what came most readily to mind. If anyone has another suggestion of hierarchy types, I'm fine with that.
No. If you want to go with family, then that's fine with me. I just note that we've created a quite conservative society here, but that also makes it fun to rebel against, which may be what our theater tradition will do.
Yeah, our theater. I mean, we don't have to say this is a happy society, and also we can do transgressive theater as part of it. Maybe that's where that's going.
Cool. So is this the family hierarchy or the knowing your place hierarchy? Is this something that's broadly held? Is it pushed by a certain social group, or is this like, oh, yeah? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, as any sort of inequality, it's the people who are most benefited by it that push it the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe they are playing off this reliance on traditions to sort of insist that this is the way it's always done, and therefore it's the way it must always be.
Yeah. Cool. Alex, do you want to jump in and do your second thing, or not?
I don't really have anything that jumps out to me. Building on what we already have.
You could pick something contrasting. I mean, societies are complex. It's there are not everything fits together neatly. If you want, or we're actually overdue for a break, so we could take a break, and if you have something when we come back, we'll put it in, and otherwise we'll move on. So we're at 17 past, so let's come back in 8 minutes at 25. See you then. So we're back. Alex, did inspiration strike?
Nope.
Cool. Then we will move on. So now we're going to start working on the traditional theater. And check this. Yeah. So now we'll do the same thing in the sense that we'll be taking turns. And now when you get your turn, you pick one of the things that we have here under the writing, the characters, and the performance, and you define that thing or something about that thing. You don't have to, like, if you pick common themes, you define one possible theme. You don't define all the themes. And if you define, if you want to do something about props and costumes, maybe you don't define everything. You've just decided that, oh, all the costumes are heavily stylized or something. Maybe that isn't very interesting for our poor nearsighted goblins, or poor. They have poor eyesight. They're not necessarily nearsighted. But anyway, you get the idea. You can add to something that someone has defined before, as long as you obviously are respectful of what everyone else has done. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I just want to point it out anyway. Cool. Alex, you can start with this part then, since we skipped you once for the culture stuff.
I was thinking going back to the bad eyesight. I'm still hung up on that.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's not so much bad eyesight? Is that maybe they were originally a subterranean people, and their eyesight in normal daylight is quite poor, but their night vision is extremely good.
Ooh, Marley, what do you think of that? I think you were the one who brought in the eyesight.
Let me look back at as we've been building off of it for a while.
Yeah.
Let's see, interrupting. Yeah, I think it still works if we do that. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it was just an idea. It'll work. It can work either way.
Oh, I mean, I was assuming that you wanted that for a particular reason. Was there somewhere you want to go with that?
No. I mean, it could be that if we're talking about the physical aspects of the theater, that theaters are extremely dark, because that allows them to see better. Which I guess
there would have to be some reason for why they're active in the daytime instead of at night, I think.
Well, unless they're performing for people who are not goblins. But
yeah, that's interesting. But we've talked about this as like more a purely goblin culture.
Okay, I'll withdraw my idea. I think it adds more complications than it adds things that you can bounce off of.
I mean, I think it's still interesting if there is a reason, and this could be some external reason for why they're generally not active in the nighttime. And since this is a fantasy world, it could be something magical. It's really dangerous to be out in the nighttime, maybe, or maybe the crops they grow can only be tended in the daytime, so they have to be active then. It could be something like that, but maybe then theater is performed in the nighttime, and they can see better. That was also just a suggestion. I'm perfectly happy to just go with the poor eyesight in general.
As am I. In terms of the writing, I think it would be interesting to have the theater be very improv heavy, if not completely improv, where there is a general idea for a plot and for characters, but all the dialogue and all of the resolutions are improv.
Cool. Yeah, that would go under, I think, put that under dialogue, maybe.
Okay. Does anybody think that does that go counter to something that somebody was already thinking about? Because obviously, if you have highly improvisational theater, then that does not include a lot of things that come from pre-written, highly technical, memorized theater.
I'm okay with it. Kat and Marley, do you have any objections?
I can yes and that.
Yeah, exactly.
worries.
This is the first term. This is whatever it is, we'll work with it.
Yeah, cool. So while Alex is writing, Kat, do you have something you want to add here?
Sure. I love the idea of a stock character of a bossy parent.
Yeah. So they will obviously be bossy.
Yeah.
What else do you think?
I'm typing like they always think they know best and always has some bad advice for a lead character that will be seen as a comedic relief in a B plot. Like maybe the
Mhm.
character doesn't necessarily do it, but the parent will then take it upon themselves and it will and it's a comic relief.
Yeah. So they're bossy and meddling and that sort of thing. Cool. And this is a comedy relief character, it sounds like.
Yes. I think
Cool.
so.
Yeah. Marley.
So in theaters I have gone to in my modern life, there's usually a part before the play starts where they say, please silence your cell phones and take your seats and all that stuff. And so I think there is a element of that in Goblin Theater, where there is a character of the rude theater goer who comes out and misbehaves in all the most annoying ways, and the theater audience heckles them. And that this is done at the beginning of every performance, and it has become sort of a skit within a skit that sort of now happens, and theater troupes pride themselves on finding new and interesting spins on this little educational skit that they do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. Like reinforcing the this is what not to do by showing rather than telling.
Exactly.
That's very fun. Do you want to put that under characters?
Sure.
Cool. I was thinking almost the same thing as the bossy parent, but with a village elder. But bossy parent is, I think that's more specific and kind of more fun. So I'm glad we have that. I had an idea for. I put in the stage here that wasn't here before, but since we talked about it, I think they use it's the village square, and I think they have the actors at the center and the audience are seated like around the square. A little bit of what we were talking about before, because since the visual element isn't as important, it will be important to be seated so that you can hear properly, but it's not important to see the performance from a particular angle. So yeah. Alex, your turn.
I'm going off on tangents in my own mind. An ideal that I think would be, so there's one of the ideals that I think Anders you were talking about, or that maybe I just is in my mind, is that goblins are obsessed with food and are seen by others as almost gluttonous.
That was just an example before we started playing.
Okay.
But if you want to incorporate that, then feel free.
I think that it would be, so I have a character which is the Epicurean, the glutton, he's a common stock character, and but I think at some point during the play he eats one of the other characters, not actually physically eats them, but in the piece eats them, and so he's a character that's associated with. So this is an ideal that the goblins have gotten away from mostly, but that this is kind of an effete, high class character who represents kind of the older ideals that the younger goblins and that most people no longer follow, but in his.
I just want to point out that we have an ask first on cannibalism, and this is definitely.
Well, this is not actual cannibalism.
No. But I just want to make sure that everyone's okay with having fake cannibalism on stage.
Yeah. That was mine, and that was more about horror cannibalism as opposed to goofy goblins pretending to eat each other for comedic effect on a play.
Yeah, cool. I just want to make sure that we're not straying into uncomfortable territory with that. But yeah, that sounds fun. So it's this. I was thinking, and you don't have to do this, but I was thinking of connecting this to hospitality, like the guest who is invited in and then eats all the food and even eats the people who invited them in, or some of them at least. Does that connect with what you were thinking?
Yeah, and if we're going with the improv, you don't know who they're going to eat, and the story could take a very dramatic turn if they eat one of the main characters in the story.
Yeah.
And then the actors would have to come up with a different ending because that character is now gone.
Yeah, you want to put that the glutton in there somewhere under the character? Is this sounds like a stock character, or is it just someone eats someone else? Is that just a plot beat that often happens?
It could be. I think it may be more interesting to have it just be at some point someone's going to eat somebody else, because it's a joke among goblins. It's kind of an in-joke among goblins that they can't control their gluttony or their hunger. Mm-hmm. And eventually somebody is going to just eat somebody else because they can't help themselves.
Yeah, cool.
And aren't we all silly people kind of thing?
Yeah.
That would probably be a common scene or plot beat.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it. Cool. Cat. While Alex is typing.
We haven't really. Let's see. I want to think about performance. I think I want there to be I'm gonna base this a little bit out of the cooperation ideal, that there is audience participation and it's very normal for if an actor gets tired or doesn't know what to do next, someone from the audience will step in, take their spot, and the actor will go and sit down, and they will continue the improv by literally bringing new people into this.
Oh, that's fun. I like that.
Can I yes and that?
Sure thing. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking there needs to be a stage manager that can kibosh certain things, so that, like, at certain points, that so that it's not like complete chaos. You know what I mean?
Yeah, is it like it's an invitation from the stage for someone to join, not just people joining because they want to? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, maybe that's a way of solving that issue without having a stage manager.
Does that fit with what you were thinking, Kat?
Sure. I think there could be an invitation at some point to the audience to bring them up. I think that could work.
But just from
Yeah.
just so that I understood you correctly, because it sounded like you said that one of the actors goes to sit down and then someone else joins. That feels like that sort of. It's not that someone in the audience just jumps up because they want to. It's
more of like a tag team thing. Someone passes on the baton, I think.
Yeah. Cool.
I also have a yes and for that. I'm not sure where it will go, maybe under traditions, but I'm imagining an annual festival where you try to get the longest running play.
Oh, I love that.
And the goal is to incorporate everyone in the entire village.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
So it becomes an endurance event?
A bit of one. Like, I imagine, people cycle in and out and stuff like that, but the play itself, can take like a week.
It's like a cricket game.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also with all the different improv and all the different people, some of which may be more skilled and less skilled, and children and old folks and stuff like that, you start with a really normal play, and by the end there's like zombie pirate ballerinas and stuff like that. It's just, it tends to get kind of chaotic, and this is one of our moments of counterculture, where we're kind of rejecting the hierarchy, and but it's also really fits in with the cooperation type stuff.
Yeah. It's the what's it called? Not festival, but the I can't remember the word. I'll think of it at some point. The carnival thing, where you have like the turning the rules upside down sort of thing. Once a year we do this or that.
Oh,
contrary to Cool. So Kat, you put your thing in. Marley, do you want to put that in as your thing, or is it just something
that could be my thing?
Commentary. You can do something else.
Does that count as a thing? I'm not really sure where that would go. Other is where it goes. Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. While you're putting that in, I think we've touched on this a little bit with the stage manager and some other things. I think there should, or I think they have a narrator, because there's going to be a lot of chaos going on here, and maybe you need someone who has like, that doesn't control the action exactly, but sort of at least guides it in a general direction and has to, like, when someone, especially when you have there's a lot of improvisation, you have people coming up on stage who may just have weird ideas and do something, who can like weave a narrative out of what's going on. And I think this could also tie into like passing on cultural traditions. One of the ideals that this is someone who also contextualizes the events of the play into goblin culture in general, and how this relates to various traditions. So a narrator who weaves the improvised events together and contextualizes them in terms of goblin culture. Cool. Alex.
So I have another idea for a character. I think it would be interesting to have an improvisational character that nobody knows who is playing this character, but they always appear at some point during the play.
So it's like a reveal.
Yeah. And that character might be a different character that is revealed to actually be this character. But it represents a figure or a mythological figure that goblins are extremely scared of. So it could be death. It could be like the devil, Saint Nick. Old Nick. No, what's the English version of him? Whatever the English version of the folk devil is.
Yeah.
But it's a character that cannot be in the improv of the show. Has to be, for the show to be successfully completed, you have to deal with this character, but this character also is kind of immortal. So you have to trick that character into somehow defeating themselves.
Yeah.
And that has to happen. Otherwise, the play fails. So the play becomes a way of figuring out a way of, within the context of the story, of tricking this character into defeating themselves and therefore being eliminated in the story. But it is a character that goblins are extremely scared of, and so invokes visceral fear in people, and people, it becomes the kind of like death or the devil or something like that. And he's not a main character, meaning he's not the main villain of the story if there is one, but he is just something that has to be overcome within the context of the play, and it always happens. Therefore, society always continues. People figure out a way around it, but he's a way of. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I tag something or suggest a tag on to that?
Yeah.
Like because we said, and this now sorry, actually we moved past this, but I'm going to do it anyway because we talked about goblins originally being subterranean, and now they're up in that as an explanation for their poor eyesight. Maybe this figure is a representation of whatever it was that drove them out of the underground. And they have to trick this thing to return to the underground so that they are safe up here again.
I'm going to give him a generic name, or her. It's not gender specific. I'm going to call it the Stranger. Okay.
Cool. Cat. Ooh, dragon. Marley put in the chat. That's pretty juicy.
Yeah, I was thinking our antagonist, mysterious character, could always be a dragon.
It's true.
Yeah, like a
Or
shape-shifting dragon.
Or not. It's all good.
Yeah.
Cat.
I'm looking at common themes. And I think a common theme, now that we have this mysterious person that always has to be defeated to some degree, I think an overarching theme is always going to be teamwork. I think we're going to see and it's improvisational. There's not going to be one set way to get to the end of the story, but I think the different plot pieces, everything is going to be revisited and it's going to build on itself. One character cannot have like, oh, I know we are going to do this and it will defeat the stranger or put the parent in the place. It has to, one character will never be wholly right. It has to be at least a few different ones working together and putting the weaving something. And one person can never be correct.
Yeah. That's very cool. It's the opposite of having like the hero or the chosen one. This is the other way around. Cool. Marley.
I'm trying to look at the ones we haven't defined yet. Inspiration, style.
Some of these are probably kind of not necessary for this style of theater that we've created. But yeah, if you find something, then please grab it.
Okay, yeah. Semi-improvised is under style, so improvised, I think we
Yeah.
we do. How about like the performance space itself? Not sure if we talked much about that.
We said that it's the village square and that the audience is seated like around it.
We did see that. Did that get written
There
down?
could be some special preparations or something that they do.
Okay.
Or it could be that the square is always set up in a certain way if you're interested in doing something with that. Oops.
I think it is very common to, going along with sort of assign audience participation and stuff like that, for actors to assign tasks to audience members. So like, yes, we are wandering through the woods and through the trees, and then the audience, they grab a few audience members to stand up and wave their arms because they're trees now. Or that they are wading through a swamp full of snakes, and then they gesture to a section of the audience who all then starts hissing because they are the snakes. And to add the sound effects and stuff like that.
That's very cool.
And also sort of goes in with the improv thing, because it's less about having formal props and more about you know, the audience helping you create the props and set pieces and extra characters that you need as you need them.
Yeah, that's very cool. Sounds like that fits maybe under audience participation, or you could put it somewhere else where it seems like it fits.
Do we have
Special
an
effects,
audience
maybe.
participation? Oh, there's a whole nother column I didn't see. Yeah, I'll put it under special effects.
Cool. While you're putting that in, I just had a thought that I want to put in as a plot beat, and that is, I think, the stranger is revealed by interrupting, because goblins obviously never interrupt each other, but the stranger does that because they're breaking the taboo, and that's what reveals them. It doesn't always happen that way, and that can also be a fun improv thing, that someone accidentally interrupts someone, and then the audience, oh, it's a stranger, and then they are the stranger. They're just that's just something that happens. We're at the hour, so I think we'll take our second break now. Considering we have it seems like we have a fair bit more we could add to this. I don't think, and we're doing a very improv heavy thing, so I don't think defining a specific play makes much sense. And I don't think we'll have time to advance the culture and see how this would affect things. So I think after the break, we'll finish up defining what this theater tradition is, and then we'll do some feedback and discussion afterwards. But let's take 5 minutes and be back at 5 past. So we're back again. Alex, we're on to you.
So my idea is this is not necessarily a character, but there is a common scene, which is, I would like to call the child. So in order to promote the ideal of passing on cultural traditions that we've established, I think that the actors in the play pick a child who's in the audience and attempt to incorporate that child into the play, and that child has magical powers. They can resolve any conflict within the play, and it's a way of passing on the tradition and maybe encouraging children who are not as confident to participate in what is obviously a great cultural tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't resolve the stranger. The stranger that's a separate thing. But
Mm-hmm.
any difficulty or conflict, they become so they can resolve. So they become like a Deus Ex Machina character that appears, and they can figure out a way of dealing with it. Or maybe the child reveals itself within the play, meaning that a child volunteers to become the child in the play and can resolve a situation, and everybody applauds and loves it, and everybody loves kids, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Yeah, that could be a character, or it could be a plot beat or scene. I think it fits in either spot.
Yeah, I was thinking of making a plot beat versus a character, because it's not like the character, in order not to overtax, because the children obviously don't understand the full thing.
Yeah,
Meaning they might not be able to participate in the way that the adults can, because the adults understand the stories that are being told, the characters that are involved in the story,
Mm-hmm,
you know, the way things usually go in stories of these types, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just a way of increasing child involvement and kind of passing it on. And everybody loves kids, everybody loves animals, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent. Kat.
I'm gonna keep this round simple, and I'm putting in exaggerated underacting style. I think there's a lot of physical movement as well.
Yeah. Has to be very clear for people to
Mhm.
see with a bad eyesight. And yeah, it's important that the emotions are clearly communicated and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Cool. Marley.
I think this is also, it can be a way for people to criticize people higher up in the hierarchy without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So it is not uncommon for the actors to tailor the show to respond to current events, or decisions that have been made that perhaps they don't agree with.
Yeah.
So it can be a form of yeah, I guess rebellion, or criticism.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes a criticism that isn't what do you say? It's not
Well, because you can always say it's just a play. That wasn't you, of course.
yeah.
Though you can get really on the nose with it, because remember, you can like tag people in and use them as props and stuff like that. So, you know, if you tag in the village elder as to play a donkey for you, that probably says something.
Yeah. It becomes a safety valve. Like you you while still respecting the hierarchy and the order of things in a formal sense, you can still voice your criticism and yeah. So this can also be a way for, I think, like for as I think this, maybe I'm idealizing this goblin society a bit too much here, but it's imaginary, so who cares? Uh, but maybe this is also welcomed by at least some of these the elders and the people who make the decisions, because when you have this tradition of hierarchy and kind of deference to the elders, they don't get the pushback that they need. So, but this is a way that they can like get a sense of what people really think, that sort of thing. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
and
Or is that
I
pushing it
think
too far?
culturally, like, you certainly is understood that it is all in fun, and it is
Yeah,
like, you know, if they tag you to be the donkey, you have to go up there and be the donkey and take it in good spirit.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, my turn. Let's see. We don't have that many stock characters, but I don't think that doesn't feel necessary for this type of play, maybe. But I'm trying to think. Oh, actually, let me put someone in here. I think we have the ignorant outsider. or maybe the bumbling outsider. And this is maybe a goblin or maybe not. But I think it's either ambiguous, or it's sometimes this is a goblin from the village beyond the next village, like someone who is from far away, or it's someone who is clearly not a goblin who is visiting. They unknowingly, or they break the rules by because of ignorance, and are corrected. And this is as a way to pass on, to emphasize the traditions that, oh no, you're doing it the wrong way, and then like they are corrected, and this is a way to like emphasize what the right way to do things are, and yeah, pass on the traditions. We'll do at least one more round. I think we may have time for more than that, but it's your turn, Alex.
Okay, so I think there definitely has to be a band or an orchestra. So vitally important to have a band or orchestra to cover the costume changes and set changes. So to have incidental music between. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, cool.
And they can be part. They could be dragged into a scene, but like then you lose that member of the orchestra or band. So it's most of the time they're not, because people want to have the music to listen to between, when the people on quote unquote stage are busy doing things that they don't want to draw attention to.
Yeah, and if they pull the fiddle player up on stage, then you have to tag in the second fiddle player who's not as good. So cool, I love that. Kat.
I think I'm piggybacking off of the common theme of criticizing those in power, and also using the stage as the village square. I feel like the inspiration for a lot of these improv plays might be current events and ordinary lives.
Cool.
Maybe it's a way to like. I like the idea that maybe some family will host like a play that will end up revealing like, oh, this our son is getting married or something like that, like as a way of sharing big news among the community.
Oh, that's very cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Molly.
I have to admit I'm running a little dry here. What have we not done yet? Props and costumes. Honestly, I think they're minimal the way we're deciding all this. Yeah, inspiration, style. Yeah, I needed to think a little more. I shall pass.
Cool. I'm not sure I have anything either. Maybe, well, with the passing roles to the audience, I think they use exaggerated props to identify characters. So the bossy parent always carries a huge, I don't know, what would they have? like a rolling pin or something, and the bumbling outsider has a really big hat or something, like that sort of thing. So when someone when you tag in a new someone from the audience to be the character, they also get the big prop so that you can keep track of who is who.
So one of the ideas I had to go along with the child character that I had mentioned earlier, that I wrote, is that at the end they're thanked by all for their participation, but they get to keep the hat that the child wears. Ooh. So I think that as a way of saying thank you to that child and a way of encouraging them maybe to participate more the next time, they get a fun hat to take with. So maybe there are lots of hats to identify different characters as well.
Oh, that's very fun.
And for people switching, is an easy way to figure out who's playing who.
Yeah.
By the hat that they're wearing, and if they switch to a different character, then they just put on a different hat.
Yeah. That's similar to what I was thinking. Like, yeah, I like that. Cool. I think we're mostly done here, but we'll do another go around if someone has something more they want to add. So, Alex, last chance.
Well, other than my hat idea, which is brilliant.
I like it.
I like hats. I don't particularly look good in them, but I enjoy the concept of hats. I think fun special effects could be, I don't know, I played years ago, I played a lot of Pathfinder, and one of the things about Pathfinder goblins is that they're all pyromaniacs. So having lots of pyrotechnics could be a thing that they enjoy. Big bangs, loud flashes, visual things. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not fires, but because that you don't want to set anything on fire. Yeah. But I also, additionally the idea I had was in addition to, I think Marley, you mentioned that the plays have a similar to that there are a lot of current events, kind of like Law and Order, but maybe there are some that are current events and other that are like mythological stories. So a mix of both. Did we write down the current events thing?
Yeah, you can put it in the same.
Current events.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just How do you create
cat? Your last chance.
How do you create carriage returns in this?
Sorry.
How do you create a new line within a single box?
What is this? It's Alt Enter or Control Enter. I can never keep it straight.
Okay. Yeah, it's Control Enter. Yeah.
It's Control. Yeah. I don't think I have any ideas for my last minute turn.
Cool. That's fine. Marley, have you come up with something?
Just a small thing. Wordplay is praised. The clever you can be on your feet, that you are making it extra cool. You are showing your skills as an actor.
Yeah.
Even puns?
Especially puns.
Yeah. Love that. I'm going to add to the stock characters. I think we have the married couple who are always arm in arm and who speak in they speak in unison. So that's a tricky thing to pull off. You have to figure out at the same time what you're saying, and you can't interrupt each other. So it's very important that you actually do that part well.
In addition to that, you could have the divorcing couple who always speak over each other and never can agree on anything.
Yeah, that's cute. Cool. Then we're done. And we're almost at past. So we have about half an hour left. I think we'll do some standard stars, no wishes, since there's no next session. But we'll do some stars, give everyone a chance to point out something they liked about. And now I want to specifically emphasize that this is about what the other players did, not about the game, because we're going to tear that apart afterwards. So this now we're talking about things that people said or did in game or around the game that you thought were good. I'll go the other way around this time. Marley, you get to go first.
I'm always bad at this part. I don't know. Yes, people were pretty game. I think, like me, everyone was a little bit lost, but fairly willing to yes and each other. So way to go for thinking quickly on your feet. I actually think we came up with a kind of interesting, dramatic performance style.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Kat.
My star is going to Marley for the rude theater goer skit. I love that. Very funny and made sense for this this culture we came up with.
Yeah, that was really good. Alex.
My star goes to Anders for coming up with the idea for this. One of my things that I always love about role-playing games is creating the world and creating maybe not verisimilitude, but creating a sense that this is a real society or a real culture. And I think this could be a very useful exercise in creating the culture because of a group of people within a role-playing game. Because theater is naturally an extension of the culture that produces it. So by detailing the theater, which is a kind of a concrete thing, you detail the culture itself.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, my star goes to all of you for being willing to ask questions when I was unclear about things and when things weren't obvious, and pushing me to explain things that were obviously very clear in my head. But since you don't live in my head, I need to verbalize them, and that's always a good reminder. So thank you all for that. Now we'll do some feedback and discussion. I will start with a couple of things that I am at least bringing with me from this. One is that maybe the setting or basis of the culture needs to be more clearly defined I should have defined that more clearly in the pitch instead of just saying goblins. But that's just something I need to bring with me for the next time. And I think maybe when defining the ideals, we ended up doing this, but starting with like the core culture, the currently dominant ideals, and then build outside or build out from that is a structural thing that would make this work would make that part work a little better. Yeah. I'll open the floor to anyone who wants to say something, and if you don't, I'll start pointing to people. So
I can hop in.
Yeah.
I think I came in with a I had a similar note of defining the society that we're making the uh culture and theater for as well, so I think that'll be helpful for next time. Overall, I didn't have a lot of questions about this process because it's very similar to a portion of another game that I play. Are you familiar with any of the Story Brewers games?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was giving me a lot of castle in the air kind of reminders of like that first portion in the game where you build the town your characters will be living in and then returning to how has it changed after the passage of time. So I think I had a lot of, because I'm playing that right now, I was like, oh, okay, we're just going to take turns and we're going to build off of it. So it made sense to me in that regard. So I don't have as many questions other than um just more definition in that second phase.
Hmm.
uh I wasn't sure, like, you gave us a very clear 2 turns for the cultural origin part, and then I wasn't sure how many turns we would get for
Yeah.
between writing characters and performance, and I kinda dried up around 6.
Yeah,
I
and
Mhm.
that was I just didn't know how long.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if the goal was to fill out all of these, because I also think that the things that were popping out to us were once we kind of got moving, once we decided improv, we didn't need a lot of the other
Yeah.
stuff. It came out to be fun and interesting, but I think we could have still had the same complete feeling with a few less. So that's just my note on that.
Yeah.
It also helps that we picked improv like right at the beginning where it goes, well, I guess they are not writing this down. I guess they don't have a set.
Yeah. Yeah, that was partly I didn't know how far we would get with the
Mhm.
time we have, and I didn't know how many rounds it would take for us to get to a satisfying
Oh yeah,
level.
heard.
And yeah, and this is similar to the other game I've been running a lot lately, Writer's Room, where you also
Mhm.
kind of play until you feel like you're done. Uh, and here we had more of a time constraint, but I feel like we yeah, we got to a nice point here. I'd hoped we would get further with the other phases of play, but I'm not surprised that we didn't.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think, yeah, having some sort of idea, and like I said, this is the first playtest, so I'm pleasantly surprised that it worked as well as it did with filling things out. Yeah, I should be more clear, or I should have been more clear about that. Yeah, we don't need to fill out everything. We'll just go on until we're satisfied with what we have. But yeah, good notes. Thank you. Yeah, Alex or Marley, do you have something?
So I was so as a world building creative exercise, I think that was fine.
Mhm.
I am sort of my personal preferences are just building a world is not a complete experience for me.
Yeah,
I know there are some where that's a thing, so maybe it's just a style thing, but like I always feel like I'm sitting here writing a bunch of checks that I am then going to cash later, and then we didn't get to the cashing part. Um, so like yeah, for me it was a little like okay, that was a perfectly fine little creative collaborative creation exercise, but yeah, didn't feel done. And maybe that's just because we didn't get to it. I think it would have been kind of interesting to talk about how our traditions would have changed, um, you know after 100 years or something like that, where we could talk about okay, yeah, we came up with this really conservative society, and now, people have rejected that, and what do things look like now? And that I think would have been kind of added a compelling element for me.
Yeah, and that's I had hoped we would get to that, but I'm not too surprised that we didn't. Things always take longer than you than you expect them to. But yeah, I'm happy that you were here and at least enjoyed somewhat writing those checks, even if you didn't get to cash them. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important to set expectations, and I think it's that is a good note. Thank you.
I mean, it's not really a matter of setting expectations. You set expectations by saying it was a playtest. So for me, I'm fine. It was just a matter of like trying to give you useful feedback for your for the development. Like, it's like, okay, where did we just get a sliver? If so, then okay, this is not the system for me. If it was just the setup and we didn't get to the end game, then that would have been more compelling for me.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Alex,
do you know the game, the RPG Opera House?
Can't say that I do.
It was kickstarted several years ago, and it's an entire role-playing game set in a theater. Something you might be interested in looking at, because it's related to what we're doing today. I saw the whole, saw us as kind of I enjoyed the world building aspect of this, and as a way of, I think that it's a very useful tool. It could be a useful tool for world building, especially kind of figuring out a culture, because you're getting at what's fundamental to the culture without talking about this is fundamental to the culture necessarily.
Yeah.
Because theater has always been a kind of a space that's set aside, that's a little bit different from culture. So it's a way of defining what is and what is not part of the culture in a way that's, I think, interesting. I mean, I think it could also be useful in setting an adventure in, as where this is a part of that adventure. So, that the game itself is not necessarily about the play itself, but the characters that you're playing are involved within the play in some way and have to understand kind of the parameters that the play exists in. And that could be fun. I know there are adventures that have been written for various games where there are theatrical elements that the characters then take part in. So that's certainly not unheard of in role-playing games.
Yeah, that actually, maybe that's why I connected this with goblins. I'm reminded now that I've actually run in a D&D 4th edition campaign that I ran many, many years ago. One of the things that happened were that they visited a goblin village where the characters got involved in preparing for I don't remember if it was a play or if it was some sort of ritual with theatrical elements, but they didn't exactly know what was going on, and that was part of figuring that out was part of the what they were doing there. Cool.
Sorry, just really quick. The credits for the Opera House game that I was talking about it was written by Andrew Peregrine, is his name.
Yeah, I found it on drive-through, so I put it on my wish list there for maybe buying at some point.
Okay.
Thanks for the tip. I obviously only glanced at it now, but it sounds interesting.
I have not played it, so I can't tell you if it's any good, but
Yeah,
it's certainly very close to the topic that we were talking about today. So I thought I'd
absolutely. Yeah. Does anyone have anything more to add? Doesn't seem so.
Well, yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
One of the things I love the most about role-playing games is that it allows you to think about, or one of the things that I like the most about role-playing games is that involving, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, and I've mentioned this already, but I like dealing with topics that are not commonly dealt with in role-playing games, and coming up with new ideas for role-playing games. So this fits nicely into that. I think that's all I have to say. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, one more star I thought of now is that I feel like we started with this very conservative and kind of strict society, but then as we went into doing the theater stuff, it loosened everything up a lot and made this whole society a lot more what do I want to say? Welcoming and comforting. It felt like it became a more positive and pleasant society by way of theater, and that feels like a good a good thing.
And now I kind of want to see a Goblin production of like Strindberg or Ibsen or something like that. Especially Strindberg.
Would certainly be interesting. When the characters start eating each other. Cool. Thank you all for volunteering for this and for being very game and at least helping me have a very good time and giving me good feedback on the game. So yeah. I hope to see you all again in some other game, and take care. I will end the recording.